Today, we are doing a WordPress tutorial for beginners. This is going to be a multi-part series, and today in part one, we are going to show you how to get your blog set up on the back end. Because WordPress is the best platform to be on if you are creating a blog to make money online. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. The first major difference is the hosting. When you have WordPress.org, you have to get your own hosting platform in order to host the WordPress software. However, on WordPress.com, hosting is provided. Now, if you are serious about using your blog to make money online, you need to go with WordPress.org. Another big difference is the customization and the control you have between platforms. So with WordPress.org, you have full control. You can install any theme, plugin, tweak any settings you like, and even modify code on the back end. With WordPress.com, access is limited. You can only use the built-in themes that are provided. You're very restricted when it comes to editing code and getting access to the backend, such as the database. But again, if you're serious about creating a blog in order to make an income online, WordPress.org is the best option. Another big difference is the cost structure. So with WordPress.org, the WordPress software is technically free. However, you do have to pay for hosting, domain registration, and any plugin or theme or anything you've chosen to add on the back end. And we also have a video to help you create your blog for $50 or less per month. So if cost is a big factor, which I think it should be, especially if you're trying to create a blog in order to make income online, check that video out. So the basic option is $50 or less, but we also have a premium option that will cost you around $135 a month to install WordPress and have all the bells and whistles you need to create content. Now with WordPress.com, the free basic plan includes hosting and a WordPress.com subdomain. However, they too have paid options where you can customize your domain, get extra storage and additional features. But again, if we are creating a blog to make money online, you need to go with WordPress.org. Another big difference with WordPress.com versus WordPress.org is monetizations and advertisements. Because with WordPress.org, you have full freedom. You can run any ads, whether from AdSense or your chosen ad network platforms such as Mediavine or Raptive. You can also use membership platforms and integrate e-commerce. So there are many different ways you can make money online using WordPress.org. Now with WordPress.com, you can't show ads. Actually, the WordPress.com platform runs their own ads and you can't remove them. Now, if you do get a paid plan over there, that is the only way you can insert your affiliate links and to run your own ads. Essentially, you have to follow their ad guideline. But again, if you want that full freedom to make your own choices, that is why you need to choose WordPress.org. And another big difference is scalability and performance. On WordPress.org, your website speed and performance is all dependent on the hosting platform that you choose. And we also have another video where we go deep into hosting. We talk about why it's so important and crucial if you are running a blog and trying to make money online. We also share our favorite hosting provider, so be sure to check that video out. But that's the thing with WordPress.org, everything really is dependent on your hosting provider. With WordPress.com, you do have some built-in performance optimizations and scalability infrastructure, but again, you are limited and you have less control over the server levels that are provided to you. So again, if your intention is to grow your blog and make an income online, WordPress.org is the best option for you. I think the biggest takeaway from WordPress.org versus WordPress.com is that with WordPress.org, you are responsible for everything. However, it also allows you a lot of freedom to choose what you would like to put on your website and what you'd prefer to keep off your platform. And while WordPress.com is a free option, you are very limited with what you can add on their platform because everything is done in-house on their side. So you don't have as much control. And even if you choose to upgrade to a paid plan, there are still a lot of restrictions and things you have to bear in mind. So if you are in the business of creating a blog to make an income online, or you just love the freedom and flexibility that comes with making your own choices, WordPress.org is an option for you.
So now we already have a video that is guiding you on how to start a blog in less than 60 minutes. And we're going to walk through with you all of the steps that we outlined in that video. So if you want to check that video out, you can do that. But today we're going to start right here, right from purchasing your own domain. Now, we recommend that you use a registrar like namecheap.com. And once you go through the purchase of doing a search for the domain that you want and then purchasing that domain, you will now have to go and get hosting. In our video with getting started in 60 minutes and also on how to do it for less than $50 a month, we have talked about using Big Scoots as your hosting provider and using a shared plan. So what you're going to do is you're going to go on their site and sign up for a shared plan. Now, I already have a shared plan set up, so I'm going to add a domain to my shared plan, but you're basically going to go through the steps of setting that up and then linking that hosting to your domain inside of Namecheap. So let's get started. This is the control panel inside of your shared plan with Big Scoots. And for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm going to add a domain. So I'm going to scroll down to the domains section, click domains, and create a new domain. Once you're on the screen to add a domain, you're going to type your domain right here without adding any of the www. And then you got to make sure you uncheck this shared document root. And once you're done with that, hit submit, and that will add the domain to your account. So now that we've added the domain to our shared hosting account, we need to update the name server on our domain registrar. You can always Google the public name servers for Big Scoots. Just simply search Big Scoots name servers, but they are ns1.bigscoots.com and ns2.bigscoots.com. And that's basically what we're going to type in. And I'm going to show you now where you're going to add that in from a Namecheap screen. Obviously, you can also do that by changing DNS settings on any domain registrar that you're using. Now, this is the domain registrar page at Namecheap. And what you're going to do once you're clicking on manage domains, go to the domain tab. And then if you scroll down, they have name servers and a drop down next to that. You're going to choose custom DNS. And this is where you're going to type in or paste the information of the public name servers from Big Scoots. So that is ns1.bigscoots.com and ns2.bigscoots.com. Once you've pasted that in, you're going to click on this little check mark and that's going to save it. Now, updating DNS can take a little bit of time, so make sure that you give it time to propagate and so that the domain points to the proper hosting. Then you're going to go back to the main page of your control panel and scroll all the way down to the section where it says software. Then you will click on the WordPress manager and then click install. Once you're in the install screen, you will make a couple of changes here. The first one is you will choose your installation URL. So make sure you choose the domain that you just added, and then you will change your site settings. So make sure that that has your site name, site description. You can change your admin username and password and make sure you save that. And then uncheck all of the plugins that it's suggesting that you install. We will get to plugins after, so make sure it's just a clean install without any plugins. And then as far as the advanced options, you can leave those just as they are. This is just basically your database information, so you can just leave it as default. And then the last thing you're going to do is click the install button at the bottom. And then it's just going to do all the work for you, and it's installing the WordPress software all for you. It is now all done. You have here the information of your main domain and also where you're going to log in. So make sure you save all of that information along with your username and password as well. Now, before we go into the admin of the WordPress panel itself, we're going to make sure we push through the security certificate for the site. So that gets done instantly. Otherwise, you have to wait for it to manually propagate your security certificate. So back in the control panel, you're going to scroll down to where it says securities. And in that section, you're going to click on the icon that says SSL TLS status. Once you're in there, you're going to click on the button that says Run Auto SSL. And then once it finishes running that Auto SSL, that means your site now has a security certificate installed and active. So now that admin URL that you just copied and saved, you're going to go into that so that we can log into our admin panel for WordPress and we can go over some of the settings and kind of a walkthrough of what that panel looks like so that you understand where everything is. So once you are logged in, this is what a brand new clean installation will look like. So there's a lot less things than when we're going to be finished with it, but that is okay. Now, the first thing you're going to do here, this welcome to WordPress, you're going to dismiss that notice. So now let's walk through a couple of things that you should be familiar with when it comes to your WordPress dashboard. The main dashboard can be customized, and as you add more plugins, you'll be able to see other things here on this main screen. But anything that doesn't serve you, you can actually minimize it. For example, by clicking this arrow right here, if you don't want to see any of these things like the WordPress news, you can just minimize it and you don't have to see them. You can also move these things around so that you can have the things that are most important to you front and center. I think always having the site health status important. You don't need a quick draft, so I would also minimize that. So for now, I'm just going to keep the site health status and the activity. So that's going to show you any recent comments and things like that. Now, if you ever want to make things active on this dashboard as well, you have these screen options, which you will be able to find pretty much on every page. If you click on the screen options, there's going to be things that you can deactivate from here if you don't want to see them at all. For example, if you don't want to see things that you now have minimized, you can completely deactivate them here by unchecking them. In this case, I don't really want to have the WordPress events, the PHP update. That is a hosting issue, so it doesn't really concern us. And also the quick draft. So once I remove the things that I don't want from the dashboard, it is now ready. And then, like I said, there will be things that will be added on this dashboard as you add plugins and things. Now on your menu bar, there's a couple of places that you're going to want to get familiar with. The first thing is updates. This is where you're going to come in and do anything that has to do with the maintenance of WordPress, the theme updates and plugin updates. So you will eventually be coming into the updates page. Right now, there's nothing to do because it's brand new, it's clean and updated. Then you have your posts. So the post page is where you actually have all of your blog posts, which is going to be all of your content. So you're going to get very familiar with coming into your post. And that actually opens out into all posts, which right now we have the standard WordPress post, which I'm going to trash right now. But otherwise, you're going to have all of your posts right here. And from here is where you're going to be doing all of your updating and all of your work. If you want to add a new post, you can do that by just clicking on this button at the top that says add post, or the add post from the sidebar directly. And then you have categories and tags, which we will have a whole discussion on the difference between categories and tags, but that is where you're going to be managing them from. Now, media is any pictures, videos, audio, PDFs, anything like that that you upload to your site. So it's always good to keep this section nice and clean as well. Right now it doesn't have any media, but as you add things, maybe you install a theme, it's going to add and upload media to your website. And this is where you're going to see those files. If you ever need to delete something, you're going to come into your media library and delete from here. However, when you're uploading, for the most part, you're going to be uploading directly from a blog post. Next, we have pages. And now there is a difference between a page and a blog post. A page should be something that is very static on your site, and you're really not going to have a lot of those on here. But again, same like with posts, you can go to all pages. It gives you a sample page, which I'm going to trash right now, and it gives you a privacy policy, which already kind of has the bare bones. It is a draft right now, so I would click on edit for that. You can review it if you want to, but it is a pretty standard one, and I would just suggest that you go ahead and publish that. So in order to publish that, once you clicked in here, just hit publish at the top and then publish again. So now your privacy policy page is published. And then to go back out of the WordPress editor, just click on view pages right here, the icon at the top. So now you have one page that's published, which is your privacy policy, all done. And we will add more pages as we go, but that's going to be after we get into the theme. Now, if you need to manage comments or look at your comments, they're going to be over here as well on the sidebar. And then we get into appearance. So this is where you're going to update your theme. And as you install themes, the appearance options are going to change as well in base of the options that the theme provides. Now, what I do suggest that you do right now is that you delete the themes that are not active. WordPress always gives you a couple of their plain yearly themes so that you have a couple of options installed. Now, you do need to always leave the latest WordPress theme installed, because if you ever have a problem with the theme that you install, you can always fall back and activate one of the standard WordPress themes to work through issues. But anything that's inactive, go ahead and delete it. So you're going to do that by clicking on theme details and then click delete. Click OK. And the same with this one, delete. Okay. So right now it just has the current theme installed for WordPress and nothing else extra. You're really not going to get too much into the editor here, and we're just going to skip all of the rest of appearance things until we get to the customization, which is our next tutorial. Now for plugins, this is where you're going to install new plugins. It already comes with your Akismet spam protection plugin, and we're going to talk all about plugins in another section of our tutorial. But for now, I am going to just delete this Hello Dolly plugin from here. Click OK, and we will be activating Akismet afterwards. So we'll get into plugins, like I said, after. But if you ever need to search for a plugin to install, you can click add plugin at the top or add plugin right here on your sidebar. Now, the next thing is your users. So this is everybody that has access to log into your site. You obviously will have your user for yourself as the admin, but also if you have other people that write for your blog, they don't necessarily have to log in. But if you want to make sure that the post, for example, is recognized as theirs, you can just simply create more users here. Now, remember, the more you add users to your site, that also increases risk of security concerns. So make sure you keep this very tight. Now, the next thing that is important for you to get through is the tools and settings. So in tools, you have your import and export. So if you are bringing information from an old site, you're going to be importing it here. If you are on your old site, you're going to be exporting data. So those two are things that you can use if you have other blogs or other data that you're bringing in, and nothing else really there from the tools that you need to worry about. And then once you get to settings, you have general. So let's walk through a couple of these. In the general tab is where you can change your blog name, tagline, your site icon, which is the little icon that shows At the very top, as you can see, the Namecheap has their logo there, so you can change that here. You can also change how your website shows up. So by default, right now, it's showing up without the www. You can change that here by adding the www. You can also update your admin email, of course, the time zone and that information so that it reflects your location. Once you finish doing the changes, you can click Save Changes. Now, in the writing tab, you're not going to have anything too important to change. The only thing that would be important, if it works for you, is the main default category. So if most of your posts are going to go into a specific category, after you create that category, you can change that here so that your defaults go to that. But that is something you can manually just check and uncheck from a specific post anyway. Then the next thing is your reading tab. So here you can tell WordPress whether your main page is going to show your latest post or a static page. Now, when we get into the customizer and the theme that we recommend that you use, we're going to be able to do all of those things from the customizer of the theme. So we don't have to really worry about too much right here. Now, when it comes to the discussion, there's a couple of things that I want you to change in the settings. The first thing is the number of levels for threaded nested comments. You're going to change that to 3. Then you're going to check break comments into pages and set this to 16 for top level comments per page. This is all going to help for your web core vitals performance for your INP scores. And everything else can stay the same. You're going to simply scroll to the bottom and click Save Changes. Now, in your media settings, there's really nothing that you need to change. And the permalinks, I do want to make sure that you change your permalink structure. So by default, it's going to have the day and name, which you don't really want your links to actually have the dates, because if you ever change the date, it's going to change the link. And then all of your links that you have anywhere else are going to be broken. So you want to make sure that it's using the post name option and then click Save Changes. And then again, in privacy, we've already updated our privacy page, which is already here. So you don't really have to do anything else here either. So that is basically the walkthrough of what is in here right now. Again, as you add more plugins and you add more things, there's going to be more options right here on your sidebar, but don't be intimidated. It is pretty easy to use. And we're just going to put the bare minimum things that you need without too many bells and whistles to get started.
So that's it for our WordPress setup and walkthrough. In the next video, we're going to get into all things WordPress customization. So we will be installing a new theme, changing all colors or brandings, fonts, and lots more. So be sure to check out that next video so you can really make your website your own.